Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, founder of Women in Wealth. From breaking money myths to building wealth and achieving financial freedom, we're here to empower you to create your own path. Talk Wealthy. Now, join the conversation and let's change the way women think and feel about money. Okay, ready? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Talk Wealthy to Me podcast. I'm Michelle Taylor, your host, and I am so excited to have a special guest with us today. Casana Fink is a University of Florida graduate, current MBA candidate, award-winning advocate for organ donation, and Miss Florida of 2024. After her father's life-saving liver transplant, she founded Give to Live, Donate Life at just 14 years old, launching a decade-long mission to educate and empower transplant patients and their families. She has since reached over 400,000 individuals across Florida and authored The Gift of Life, a children's book on donation, now placed in every county library in the state. Kasana has served as Chief Operating Officer of More Transplants, More Life, where she worked to improve access, education, and equity in the organ donation system. Her impact has earned her recognition as Donate Life Florida's Ambassador of the Year and a nominee for Donate Life America's Pinnacle Award. In addition to her advocacy work, Kasana is an entrepreneur and a business owner. She is the founder of The Unverified, a fashion brand rooted in resilience and individuality, built upon her studies at the Condé Nast College of Fashion and Design in London. Kasana's journey is proof that purpose and passion, when paired with action, can spark change that touches lives far beyond our own. Hi, everybody. I am so excited for this episode. I am joined today by the current Miss Florida, Casana Fink. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be a part of this.
Well, I think we're all in for a treat because you have done so much and so much good. And I think that the story we're about to hear is one that everyone will benefit from.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So first, tell us a little bit about you and how you got here.
My little elevator pitch that I try to make short. So I think it all starts when I was 14 years old. My dad was found unresponsive in our front lawn.
Oh my God.
He was rushed to the hospital. We were told that he would need a transplant, and that turned into a year-long journey in and out of the ICU. At that time, my mom was working 2 jobs. She was by his bedside every night. As a 14-year-old, you think the world revolves around you. So I think that was my first kind of entrance into reality. And we also lost a major income provider for our house. Yeah. And not only did that experience really show me how life can change so quickly, but it also showed me what it truly means to be an advocate, because my mom, seeing that in certain areas of the hospital, my dad wasn't receiving the best care. She was demanding better care on the top floor with executives at the hospital and saying that patients deserve to be treated better. So not only was she representing him, but she was representing every patient on his floor. And that's when at 14, I decided I wanted to do something as well. I started a nonprofit, Give to Live.
It's amazing.
Thank you. I don't know if I knew what I truly was like getting myself into. I just remember my mom always had a service heart.
Yeah.
And I just wanted, I think, to be more like her. And I started my nonprofit very quickly. I was thrown in front of my peers to share about organ and tissue donation, because it's really one of those things, until you are directly impacted by it, you don't see the importance of it.
Yeah.
And since then, I've just continued to build upon that. In 2 years ago, so 2023, I was advocating in Tallahassee for organ donation and trying to get some legislation passed. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm kind of like decent at this. Maybe I'll be a lobbyist. And someone put me in touch with a longtime lobbyist, double lung transplant recipient. And he basically talked me out of being a lobbyist. He was like, you do not want to do this.
Don't do this.
But he asked if I would head operations at his nonprofit. And this is something I'd been doing for years, but I think as a woman, sometimes self-doubt creeps in, and I just was like, I don't know if I'm your girl. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to do what you're asking. But for a year and a half, like, we developed out 6 programs, from a podcast that you could share with patients about the inner workings of waiting for a transplant, after transplant, to building bridges between marginalized communities and healthcare providers, everything, working with different communities so that they could trust healthcare. We just wanted everyone to know what organ donation was before they're sitting at the bedside of a loved one, having to make that decision on the hardest day of their life.
Yeah.
And that was such a beautiful journey. When I was at Miss America this year, though, he did get an infection in his lungs and ended up passing away.
Oh, no.
He was the best boss in the world, and I tell everyone that. But he also really showed me that no task is too big. And if you take every win by the 1% rule of every day, if you're 1% closer, that's what you need to focus on, not looking at this mountain and saying, how could I ever climb this? And so I really integrate that into everything that I do now. I'm a University of Florida graduate.
Go Gators.
Go Gators. I'm graduating with my master's in business this fall. I studied at Condé Nast College in London, lived in New York, worked in fashion for a while. I know this is kind of all over the place.
But what a life.
Yeah, it's been amazing. And especially being Miss Florida, I say I've lived 1,000 lives because every day it was so important for me to say yes to things and show up. And when you do those things, it completely transforms your life. So that's my elevator pitch. I might have forgotten something, but it's been crazy.
That was perfect. So I think that what you did at such a young age showed that you were a perfect person and personality to have a platform to reach people like Miss Florida, and also to be an entrepreneur. Because the one thing that's kind of tricky to teach is the grit and tenacity it takes to just jump in. And it sounds like you started showing that at 14. And if I was sitting here with your mom, she'd probably say that it was when you were 5.
Yeah. I definitely was a little bit of a crazy child. She'd probably say that too. But I think there does have to be a sense of you can't think too much about it because that'll paralyze you. And I did do that. I did teen for 3 years. So Miss Florida's teen kind of prepares you, but it allows you to win scholarship dollars. So when my dad got sick, they were like, well, you got to find money or you're not going to college. And I did that. And then I took a long break until I finally felt that I was ready to compete as a Miss for Miss Florida. But the truth is like I never really felt ready. And I think I just kept talking myself out of it because I was so fearful of failure. But it's when you jump into the deep end, you can't allow yourself to think too much because you'll just never feel prepared.
You are preaching to the choir. We talk about this so often amongst other women friends and business owners. You are never ready.
No.
You are never ready to have a baby. You're never ready to get married. You're never ready to jump in blindfolded. But that's the only way to move forward. And that's what I mean. To know that you did that in so many aspects and times of your life is incredible.
Thank you. YouTube was a great teacher. That's how I learned so much information.
The world has totally changed in that regard.
Yeah.
The information's there. You just need to filter it out, find what's useful, then partner with someone to say, does this apply to me? And then go after it.
Right.
So do you think, and obviously we talk all here about money and success and what that all feels like. When you saw your family shift down to one income, do you think that impacted the way that you felt about money or the money stories that you grew up telling yourself? And was it good or bad?
Absolutely. I have a lot of financial insecurity even to this day, where like I just have a really weird relationship with money and I'm always scared that it's fleeting. And I think that comes from, first of all, to go even further back, my mom grew up in a wealthier family, but her dad passed away very suddenly when she was 12. And it completely flipped to where her mom was sewing her prom dresses.
Oh my goodness.
And so she always instilled in me how important a penny is, which I think is a great thing to know, right? You should understand how far a dollar can go if used properly. But it also kind of instilled this fear in me of like things can change any day. And then my dad was hit really hard by the recession. He is an appraiser. He was investing in some land, really trying to do everything to like provide a better life. Very hard worker. But when the recession came along, it completely decimated everything. But then that only got intensified when my dad got sick because truly it's a godsend that we were able to keep the house. What happened was the bank, I think, went belly up and lost our mortgage. And through numerous reasons, like we were able to refinance.
Oh
That
my
is why we kept
gosh.
our house. But if it weren't for that, we would have lost absolutely everything. And again, that was just a moment where it's really hard to convince yourself that money is stable and that it will be there
Mhm.
forever. And I even hold that to this day. I have been able to convince myself to really invest in myself,
Mm.
but it wasn't without some dissonance and it wasn't without a little bit of panic. But I think the confidence does come over time, just realizing that it always works out. And it's not just money investment that you have to give yourself, it's also work. And when you show up with the right work ethic and you create the right relationships,
Yep.
that's also wealth.
100%. And it's learning to take those stories, take what you can from them, and then making them work for you. So I imagine, and we talk about this often, women tend to be a little bit more apprehensive about taking risk by nature, but also with money, of course. And then also, we are the nurturers. So we're more likely to take a step back out of the workforce and take care of others and put ourselves last. So it's that balance of capturing whatever you need to move the needle forward and rewriting your money story and not putting yourself last in other areas of your life. It's it's a wild it's a wild thing. It's so hard.
Yes.
And I remember, it's funny you bring up the recession and your dad. So my dad is also an entrepreneur, and I learned so much watching him and riding around in his truck when he was building a window and door company. And in that same time period of the recession, I had just moved back from Italy and I was living with him, starting my business. And I remember him sitting on the foot of his bed and he was crying. And I remember walking in and immediately feeling like, whatever this is happening is nothing I want a part of. It
Yeah.
felt so scary, and it made me take a different look at entrepreneurial things. But I also saw how he was in charge of his own destiny and could quickly refocus. But you have to take the good with the bad. I mean, money and uncertainty in life is all scary.
It's all scary.
It's just managing.
I know. I think it's being able to give yourself grace as
Mm.
well. Especially, I can only imagine the stress of being like a sole provider for a family. But I just know, kind of coming into adulthood and realizing, okay, adulting's not cheap,
No.
and really just working hard to set myself up to where I can give my kids the best chance at life and like everything that they could ever want. It is really giving yourself grace too, because you can't have improvements without trying things. And unfortunately, trying things also can lead to failure. It's just the equation of life. And I would rather try 6 things and fail 5 times
Yeah.
than still be sitting on my couch and being like, this is a great idea. Like, I
Wish
should
I
try
would've done
this.
it.
Yeah.
And we've all had that moment where you think
Right.
of something and then you look it up and somebody already created it.
Right.
You don't ever want to sleep on something big.
Correct. And I don't know. I also had one of those moments of when I came home from New York City, and I just realized I was so much happier in Florida. And that's another thing, is what does wealth mean to you, right? And to me, happiness was a
Huge.
big part of the conversation too. But I was living in New York because I was chasing what I thought I needed to do. The next accolade, like what's most impressive? I want to be editor-in-chief one day of like a big fashion editorial. But I was so unhappy, and I was missing the important ethos in my life that has always grounded me. And coming home and just kind of reevaluating that, I think wealth also should encompass happiness.
100%.
Yeah.
Because if you're chasing something that is not filling your cup, there's no way it's going to stick.
No, money won't fix that.
Money will not fix it.
I will disagree when people say money can't buy happiness. I do think it can help with happiness because, again, growing up in a household where there was a lot of conversation about money not being there, it definitely takes the stress off. But there is so much more to the conversation as well. It's almost like a whole, I don't know, an all-encompassing. You have to talk about health. You have to talk about financial stability and happiness and all of those things.
All of it. And you're totally right. I always say, when that saying comes up, money makes everything easier. It gives people options. So if you're chasing money to make you happy, we need to reevaluate
Reevaluate.
that. But man, it does make it easier
It
because
does.
I know personally, I remember watching my mom where if something unexpected happened, God forbid, same thing with our family, when I got sick, there was no extra to pay for all of the things that come with a medical emergency. But even something little like the dishwasher breaks,
I know.
that is huge. So that's where I think when you don't have it, it seems like the people that do are happy, and their happiness is not from the money. It's just hopefully from the ease of having options to make life better.
Right.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. So when you first were walking in today, I commented on your amazing, beautiful dress.
Thank you.
And it's from your line. So tell us about that. I'm a lover of fashion, and I love that you pivoted to now being a business owner. So tell us how that happened and what that's been like.
I've had a few very transformative experiences in my life, the different alleyways, I guess,
A million lives.
yes, detours that I've taken, but this one has been such a constant in so many different chapters. And it's because when something's your own, like it's very fulfilling to you, and every little win is just incredibly gratifying. So I started this clothing brand with $10,000 that I saved up from minimum wage jobs in New York City.
God.
And some that I've saved up from college. And I knew that I always wanted to do something greater. I just didn't have the confidence. My boyfriend, an incredible person, very entrepreneurial, not as risk adverse as I am. He just really said, you know what, you want to do this? Like,
Do it.
let's leap of faith. Let's do it. What's the worst that can happen? You're down 10 grand. Like in the scheme of it, you tried something, you learned from it. And I said, you know what, you're right. I took to YouTube. I watched YouTube videos probably for 4 days straight. I had a notebook completely filled with what I wanted my niche to be, where I wanted to source the products from, kind of my timeline of, okay, so I have to start by private labeling. When do I see myself designing to creating? Made some calls. All of a sudden you're, talking to people overseas. You're like trying to figure out what are the minimum order quantities. And it truly started in such grassroots efforts. We were talking about this earlier. The things that I showed up to my first year of owning a clothing brand just in this name of exposure. I mean, some of them were brutal.
Oh.
There's been days where I've sold one item for $15, and I'm just like,
what am I doing?
I'm like, how do I have something worth $15 on this rack? Like, how is that even possible? And it doesn't even cover the gas to get there. But you know what is? Then I would have days where I would meet hundreds of women who look at my items and they're just like, this is beautiful and it's affordable and it will last.
Happy.
And my goal always was, when I lived in New York City, I feel like fast fashion was just everywhere. But then you would see that one person in the crowd and you're like, wow, she's timeless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted it to represent. I wanted my items that I was able to source and bring to women to be things that they'll have throughout different chapters, that if it accidentally got thrown into the washer, it's not going to disintegrate. And also play my part in contributing to healthy fashion. And I don't know, I just want women to feel confident in what they wear, because I remember distinctly as a young girl, it was between 7th grade and 8th grade, I really started honing in on what style was.
Mm-hmm.
And it completely changes the way you look at yourself and the way that you show up.
It's wild because when you are, and we're in a culture right now where things have shifted so much, where people, it's sweatpants and sweatshirts. And when I grew up, I remember my grandmother saying, I mean, you don't leave the house without looking pulled together. And when you're flying, I remember when I was first dating my husband, his brother came to pick me up at the airport, flying to Connecticut. And he said, I knew you'd be here in a blazer and heels. And I remember
Amen.
thinking, well, I'm on an airplane, of course. And that was, 10 years ago. And I think I see people, how they travel now, and it's totally different. But it does affect how you show up. And regardless of what, people's opinions are on how we view others, I think that those first impressions,
Everything.
it matters.
Yeah.
It matters how you show up. And not only is it going to shape the perception of the audience you're talking to, but it matters to you and your confidence and your ask and what your message or your platform is. So I love that you consider that. And I hope that more people think through that. I try and tell my 10-year-old little boy every day because he's in that, don't you dare tell me what to wear.
Is he a sneakerhead? I feel
Oh
like
my
that's when it
God.
starts developing.
He is a sneakerhead and comes by it naturally, his dad and uncles and all of them. But I'll tell him all the time. And he goes, well, Mom, it doesn't matter. And I'll say, well, it does matter. People are looking. And when we go to church on the weekends, he'll say, Mom, God doesn't care what I'm wearing as long as I go to church. And I will look at him and say, you are right. God doesn't care. But Mom cares.
But Mom does.
I care. You are a reflection of us. Like, brush your hair, kid. So it's important.
Yeah, I get asked a lot as Miss Florida, what's more important, beauty or brains? And I always say beauty gets you in the door. Brains is what keeps you at the table.
Oh my God, I love that.
But it's true. Like how you show up is how people perceive you and your abilities.
And quickly, I think, perceive your worthiness of being at the table. Because it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you show up somewhere and you don't look the part, people will automatically discredit you before you even open your mouth. It's wild.
And I think, too, to make the distinction between, like, it's not attractiveness level. Like, I don't think that's really what it's about. It's about how do you take care of yourself? Like, are you showing up ready for the job that first day? Or do you go to church and, like, really still look put together? I mean, there's a difference between attractiveness level. Is that even a word? Attractiveness level and
go with that.
Just looking confident and showing up excited
as
and
the
ready.
Best version of
the
yourself.
Best version of yourself.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because so many people immediately are like, it shouldn't matter what I look like. And they are absolutely right.
But it does. Right.
But it does.
Yeah.
So going through the journey of becoming an entrepreneur and launching your brand, were there any moments of either, oh my gosh, that was the best decision I made with money to prepare me for this? Or are there any moments that you can share with the listeners that you would say, this was a turning point of something I did wrong that I wish I hadn't? I feel like we all have those moments where we're like, oh, this was important.
Right. All the time. I think entrepreneurship is a constant ebb and flow of being like, this is the best decision I ever made and this is the worst decision I ever made. And again, it goes back to like giving yourself grace. And sometimes I need someone else to look at me and say, look at what you've built. If the same Kasana was looking at what you've built all those years ago, would she be proud? And I think that's what's important because I guess the bar of what you're trying to reach continues to go higher and higher. And it should, because that's what can build a successful business. But it's just also keeping that perspective of continuing to show up. And even when you have those bad days, trusting the process. That's the biggest thing I've learned in every component, whether it be working for years to win Miss Florida, placing third runner-up at Miss America, like getting my MBA. I'm in corporate finance right now. I'll say a prayer because I do have an exam in 3 days. But,
oh my God.
I think the constant theme is you have to love the journey. You can't just love the wins. And when you start to love the journey and start looking at it through that lens, one bad day won't make you want to throw your hands up and say, I can't do this anymore.
Right. And it's like, it's always good to remember that version of yourself that was 10 years old, 16 years old, 20 years old, whatever it was. She would think that you were amazing.
I know. She would. I was such a
proud,
hot mess.
Right?
Like she'd be like, how did I become that?
Every time I see that, I think, I mean, with my story and being a shopaholic, trying to fill whatever leukemia hole was left with happiness of shopping, having no job, I was a total dumpster fire when it came to finances and planning and wealth building. And I think if that 23-year-old girl met me now, she'd be like, you are lying. This is not what you're passionate about and doing for the rest of your life. But it's good to remember that on those days that you're like, was today a win?
I think so.
It's a win.
I think so.
What was your experience like going through building this brand as a young woman? Because I know when I did it, there were plenty of these men that were around me that were more than willing to help and were lovely, but they definitely were a little dismissive. I felt like the pat on the head. Oh, this is so cute. Who is your dad helping you? Are you married? And I'm like, I'm 25 and I'm not married. But what was it like for you?
I mean, I think it was one of those things that with the work and effort that I was putting in, it was taken more seriously at first because I had just moved home from COVID and because I was flailing a little bit and not quite sure like where my purpose lied. I did have to prove myself a little bit because they were like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? Like, what is this, the side quest that she's doing? But again, I had the most supportive boyfriend who like really believed in the power of entrepreneurship. And what I'm really proud of is like I put in the time on the research end so that if there was a question, I was like, don't worry, ready. I've already thought about that, which of course, like the plan never goes accordingly.
Never.
And there has been times when I would go through slow seasons where people would ask like, are you still doing that? Like, really? Like that's still something you're pouring into. But again, it's just showing up. And I think by building upon that, by continuing to show up, by having confidence in research and working hard, it's hard for people in your life to look at you and challenge it, I guess. Because they're like, okay, she loves this. She's putting the work in.
Consistently.
Consistency, I think, is what brought comfort.
Yeah. It is the magic bullet, I think, for so much, no matter what you're talking about, health, building wealth, showing up for yourself, working through being a parent, a marriage, a friend. You have to do things well consistently.
Yeah. Social media.
Social media.
I think that is such a great metaphor.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's like a full-time job, even if you have people doing it.
It is a full-time job, and that's something I've really tried to pour into this year because it's hard to fail if you do have a strong social media following, honestly, because that is like your crew. People want to see you succeed, I feel, if it is a really engaged following. But man.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard.
We just went to Spain for a friend's birthday, and my team said, okay, just get some content. This will be great. And I still, even though it's been, a while that I've been doing this, it does feel so funny. And my husband is the best Instagram husband ever.
Well trained.
Oh yeah. He knows how to hold the cameras and his friends are laughing at him, but he's like, listen, I've perfected this. So,
and that's a man that loves you. That is a man that has so much love for you. And my boyfriend did the same thing. And it's so funny because he was going to film a video one time. And so he gave the camera to someone else. And he was like, okay, listen, you need more space above the head. Like the bottom of the angle needs to be right up to the shoes.
And you've never been prouder.
And I was just like, you love me that much that this man has done some research to ensure that I'm getting the best Instagram photos. And yeah, I honestly think it is a currency for love. I'm like, that is a love language, is getting Instagram photos.
It is, because it's not easy.
No.
It's not figuring it all out.
Yeah.
It's wild. And so speaking of social media and pictures, you are obviously well-versed in this because of the title that you hold. And I think for most of us listening, we don't know what that world is like. So can you give us a little peek behind the curtain? What is the pageant world like? What was it like to hear your name when you won? And once you win, what happens? Are there financial rewards to being a title holder?
Yes. So Miss America organization is the largest scholarship provider for young women in the world. And again, I really started to pour myself into this because I needed to go to college and my family didn't have the money to send me to college. And I fell in love with it because there's such an emphasis on service. So sometimes when people think Miss America, they think beauty pageant. Well, they have completely rebranded themselves to be a scholarship competition because they don't want the emphasis on the beauty part. We all have service initiatives that we pour into. So for example, mine's organ donation. And every young woman who competes in the Miss America organization has theirs. So any cause that you can think about, women are pouring into their communities, their states, their nations.
Yep.
And that really just also reinstilled in me what can be changed with service because I'm surrounded by young women who are all like-minded. So that is the background story of the Miss America organization, but there's also components that you compete in. Miss Florida is a week-long competition.
A week?
A week-long competition, and you have to win at a local level too. So I was Miss Tampa last year because that's where More Transplants, More Life was based out of. And the most incredible year, but you do a lot in your community. You do a lot for your service initiative. And then you have to prep on stage, which is we have talent. So I grew up as a competitive dancer. At 26, it's a little harder to do that. But
what type of discipline was your specialty?
I've always loved contemporary lyrical.
Oh,
So I did
danced
lyrical.
growing up.
I know you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
And I feel like a dancer truly knows how hard it is to stay a dancer as you get older. And so I was training in the studio multiple times a week. I was going on 3 or 4 appearances as Miss Tampa, like local level. I was partnering with hospitals and politicians to pass legislation. We have a 10-minute interview with a panel of judges where they can ask you about anything under the sun. You can get asked about abortion, gun rights. You can get asked about your community service initiative, beauty or brains, like any question you have to be completely prepared for.
Wow.
Then you have onstage question, which is you answer, again, any question under the sun in front of 1,000 people. We have—
That's a lot of pressure.
Onstage question is really where my nerves, I hated it. And then we have evening gown and fitness.
Because they do fitness now instead of the bathing suit thing, right?
Yes, they do fitness instead of the bathing suit. Again, really trying to rebrand it, not as beauty. And that's not what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to Miss Florida 3 times. I was first runner-up my second time, completely crushed me. But
oh my God, I can't imagine.
You get so close.
All that hard work.
And out of 40 girls, you're like, am I ever going to get this high again? Like, am I ever going to place this well again? Or is my dream kind of, is that as far as I'll ever go? And that's why I really wanted to make sure next time I came back as Miss Florida, there was not a doubt in the judge's mind that I was capable and ready. That's when I started working heavy with More Transplants, More Life as head of operations. I went back for my master's. I really poured into the unverified. I wrote a book and basically gave them out because I just wanted this to be like a free resource. And I just tried to make myself better in every element of my life. And I came back the next year and won. And you would think at that point, you're like, oh man, like I made it. My dream was achieved. But immediately you're like, okay, I have to get ready for Miss America now.
How long do you have between?
So it used to be in September. So you only had 2 months to prepare. My year I left on December 28th. So during Christmas, everyone's opening up gifts and all I'm thinking about is, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Like, am I ready? Am I ready?
So what happens if you're just get this title of Miss Florida and then let's say you win Miss America?
Yeah.
Then you have to give up. You give Florida to the runner-up.
First runner-up takes over Florida duties. And I don't know. There was always a part of me, I was like, there's no way I'm going to win Miss America. Like, there's just no way. And then you get there and you're like, you are capable of doing this. And then to place third runner-up, I mean, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said there's no way. But again, honestly, I think my harshest flaw in my life is the fact that I don't trust myself enough. And with entrepreneurship, with money management, whatever it may be, you have to trust yourself and you have to understand that you are so much more capable than you give yourself credit. And I think women struggle with that more than men.
I hope that all of you are writing this down on the side of the road or wherever you're at.
Yes, pull over. Safe driving.
Step away from the stove while you're cooking. But it is so true. It all comes back to believing in yourself, not having imposter syndrome. You deserve to be at the table. Fight for what you think you deserve and are worth, and the world is yours. We do such a bad job as women. I don't know. I think we're getting better about emulating it for each other. I think, as friends, we're less in a culture of being competitive with each other and uplifting each other, hopefully. But yeah, we have to do better.
Yeah.
Because that's where it all starts.
I agree. You have to truly be able to look to the women to your right or left and know that they have your back and they have your best interest and that they'll hold a mirror up and show you how great you are, which I was very doubtful that I would find such genuine friendships at Miss America and God just has a way of working. The first night we were at orientation in this huge ballroom. There was 8 seats at each table. We sat down, a group of 8 of us, and it was just such fate because those are the girls that I still group chat to this day.
You do?
And I got deathly sick during Miss America, like sicker than I've ever been, 2 days in to 10 days.
Oh my God.
And they were the ones who were praying over me and like making sure, does my mom need to go pick medicine up for you? I'm like, no, it's okay. My boyfriend just showed up with $300 from CVS of cold medicine.
Yeah.
Yes. But you have to trust that the women in your life are there for the right reasons. And if not, I've just learned in life, it's not worth it.
Cut and run. Get your village, and don't accept anybody that isn't equally as invested in the relationship.
Right.
Do you guys have to buy all of the clothes that you wear?
For state level, yes. Once I won Miss Florida, I had a dress sponsored, an incredible dress shop here in Orlando called Regalia Apparel in downtown Orlando. And we went up to New York City. I designed it with Giovanni, and I was able to wear that on Miss America. I won evening gown at Miss America with that, which again was one of those moments where it's so wild because I didn't believe in any of these strengths. And then, I don't know, just as life progresses, you see it.
Now you do.
And my attire, my outfits that I wear to appearances are sponsored by a boutique down in Homestead called Anne Marie Boutique. I have a dental sponsor. I have an incredible group of sponsors. My car is sponsored.
That's wonderful.
I know. For the year, you definitely do live like a queen, but it is hard work, and you do have to put your life on pause to serve. And I don't know if people fully realize that, but
because it's more than beauty. It is truly an act of service.
Right. And it was always really important for me as Miss Florida to not only represent those who are showing up to the really nice galas or like the high dollar contributors. I wanted to be a Miss Florida that, okay, I got invited to an event that's in the middle of the forest to raise money for wildlife. I'm going to say yes to it because it's not just my duty to represent a niche group of people.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to represent all of Florida. And I think when you lead with that, it's just inevitable that you're going to change for the better.
What is next for you?
I am really trying to go the broadcast route. I would love to be able to do that on the side of also continuing to run my business. I just realized through this year that I have such a strength of relationship building, communicating, storytelling. And I don't want a moment in my life to go by where I didn't at least try to completely grow in my strengths. It took me a long time to realize what my strengths were.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm here, I really want to go into TV, but I also love fashion. So something where I can incorporate it all, which I guess sounds like a lot to incorporate in once, but just looking at the trajectory of my life, I've been able to juggle a couple things at a time. And hopefully that'll be what's next for the chapter.
There is not a doubt in my mind that you're going to do it.
Thank you.
I just hope you stay local so we can all see you and love on you in Orlando.
I do love my Orlando family. I've definitely become close.
I'm sure. It's hard not to fall in love with this place.
Yeah.
So, okay. What is one, as we kind of wind down here, what is one tip that you have learned through all of these different chapters you've lived around money that you think may help someone that's listening?
Invest in yourself, whether that be in your education, in starting a business, in getting investing in your health, a procedure that really will enhance your life. When you decide to invest in yourself and not look at it like it's a selfish act, that's really when you can see your life transform. And it's scary. And you might be sitting there and saying, well, why would I invest $10,000 in me when I could invest it in my kids? But you have to realize the $10,000 that you're investing in yourself and for a better future could completely generationally change the trajectory of your kids. And that means a lot more than, buying all these outfits for your child. I wish I understood how much $1 towards myself and my future would have gone a long time ago. But if you're willing to invest in yourself, it's only natural that it'll come back tenfold.
That's amazing advice, because the more fulfilled and complete you feel, you're only going to be able then to pour into others that are hoping to get something from your experiences. So it's so true. Pour into yourself first. invest in yourself. Do not feel guilty. It's something we all do so frequently. And I have one more thing.
Yes, of course.
What is the most dreadful question you ever got or that stumped you? Was there ever anything that you remember that you were like, really? Did I just get asked this question during like the pageant stuff?
Well, Miss Florida a couple years ago, I got asked about gerrymandering in my interview, which is, I don't want to butcher it on here, but the reallocation of lines for voting points basically in certain areas. And I like somehow skated my way through the answer, but it's questions like that. Or I also got asked about gun control on stage in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And you could answer it as eloquently as possible. You're
still
probably offending
half
so
the
many
audience.
people. But I think with those things, it's just, how can you truly stand by your opinion, but say it in a way that gives room for empathy for all? And that's always been my goal.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
How can people find you? How can people learn more about organ donation, about your current business and baby? How do we follow along on this amazing journey?
Well, my personal page on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram is at Casana Fink. My business is The Unverified. And if you want to know more about organ donation or you're considering becoming an organ donor, which saves lives like my father's, you can go to donatelife.org or donatelifeflorida.org and sign up to be an organ donor.
Thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing in not only that space, but the message that you're giving to so many women who inevitably see you and look up to you. I have had the best time. You are delightful.
Thank you. As are
Inside
you.
and
You're so
out.
lovely.
And I hope that everyone listening, I hope that you can feel it. But if you're watching, she is so genuine. And I'm so thankful that you joined us today. As always, ladies, there is so much work to be done to change the way women think and feel about money, how you write your story, what success looks like. Today is the day. Find somebody who inspires you. We have a great example, but let's keep doing the good work. As always, like, subscribe, share, and until next time, let's keep changing the way women think and feel about money together.